now. So AEB TAP is funded through the AEBG office. That project is at the Sacramento County Office of Education, and they are the lead on this project, and AIR, CASAS, and OTAN are partners providing different kinds of technical assistance and professional development. AIR is an international nonprofit organization that works in behavioral and social sciences and especially education, and we have a big adult education and literacy section, and so we are the ones that are partnering with AEBG. Through AEBG TAP, we'll be offering effective instruction in program areas, curriculum alignment, support for college and career readiness, and developing leadership. So hopefully this webinar is part of that plan. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to make connections with an overview on data, partnerships, and support services. And that's from Deborah Jones, and then we'll hear consortium perspectives, experiences, and examples from North Alameda and from State Center. So I'm going to introduce our presenters to you. The first one is Deborah Jones from Peralta Community College District. Deborah serves as the Director of Economic and Workforce Development at Peralta. She most recently served as Director of Workforce and Adult Education at the California Community College's Chancellor's Office, and before that was at the Adult Education Office at the California Department of Education. She worked closely with the legislature to provide guidance in the development of AEBG and the Strong Workforce Program, and her educational background includes degrees in social work, education administration, and a doctorate in organizational leadership. Her commitment to social justice drives her passion for education reform and centers on the equity lens to further adult social and civic mobility. So thank you for being here, Deborah. And Deborah will be the moderator, and we'll hear from first Shamila Johnson from North Alameda Adult Education Collective. Shamila was born and raised in Vallejo, California. She earned her BS degree in marketing and a Master's of Art in Psychology while advancing her career in higher education. Passionate about education, non-traditional path, a career in the Adult Education Community College Collaborative was a likely path for her. She has experience in enrollment management, outreach, marketing, and program development for the California Community College system, and she is enjoying now learning more about the K-12 structure. In her spare time, Ms. Johnson enjoys spending time with her family, watching sports, traveling, and trying new things. She is often inspired by her favorite saying and shares it with others. Strength. A river cuts through a rock not because of its power, but its persistence. How true is that? And then after that, we'll hear from Sherry Watkins. Sherry has been educating adults since 1998. She was a former patient education coordinator at the American Lung Association and provided professional development for healthcare professionals, school personnel, and community-based organizations. Sherry started teaching at Fresno Adult School in November of 2000 in the community-based English tutoring program, CBET. During her time at Fresno Adult School, she taught English as a second language, a variety of classes in the older adults program, and computer courses for the CTE program. Sherry also facilitated new student orientations, coordinated medical programs, was an advisor to CTE students, and was the coordinator for the USCIS grant. Her love of technology led her to OTAN, where she completed the Online Teaching Academy. So she's in the perfect place doing a webinar with us. Because of the extensive background in adult education, it was a perfect fit for Sherry to apply for the AEBG coordinator position with the State Center Adult Education Consortium. Her journey continues as she, with her team, work to lead one of the largest consortia in the state. So thank you all for being here, and I'm going to turn it over now to Deborah Jones.
There we go. Thank you, Miriam, and good afternoon, folks. It is such an honor to present today with Shamila and Sherry. As Miriam shared, we'll talk about the relationship of data, partnerships, and support services. Research shows that these driving forces impact programming and contribute to student success. Each one of you used data in your annual plan to determine areas of focus. This slide identifies the importance of unpacking that data. When I returned to Oakland a few months ago, folks told me that Oakland is thriving and unemployment is at a new low of 4.2%. That sounded great. But as I looked closer, I realized that 4.2% was misleading. It was accurate at some level, but it was not the reality that many folks face. Let's look at this table. You can see that for African American men ages 20 to 24, the unemployment rate is twice that of their white counterparts and more than 3 times the average. This kind of information, this unpacking of the data and looking through the equity and social justice lens should impact our programming, our advertising, and it will influence potential partnerships and support services. Throughout this webinar, we'll explore partnerships, and you'll learn from Sherry and Shamila that there are traditional partners and non-traditional partners. When I was in the field and also working at the Chancellor's office, I found that critical partners were important, they were necessary, and they were valuable, as I could leverage their criticism to affect change in how work was done. We all know the value of support services. This one factor can make or break the success of our students. Our students are part of families and communities, and our student support services need to address the whole person. Sherry and Shamila will share more about their success in providing student support services. Let's hear from these two experts. Shamila and Sherry, can you please give us an overview of your consortia and share some data about your consortia?
Good afternoon. I am Shamila Johnson from the Northern Alameda Adult Education Collective. For any of you that are unfamiliar with the area, Northern Alameda is a metropolitan region of the San Francisco Bay Area. We occupy much of the East Bay. Our cities include Oakland, Berkeley, Piedmont, Albany, Emeryville, and Alameda. In our consortium, we have 10 members, 4 adult schools, 4 community colleges, 1 college district, and 1 county office of education. In addition to the 10 members, we have a host of partners that we collaborate with. In Alameda County, we are one of 3 consortia, so shout out to Mid-Alameda and South County consortia. As you can see on the slide, our population in Northern Alameda consists of a little more than 500,000 adults aged 18 and older. Of that 500,000, 13% are living below the federal poverty level. 6% have a 7th grade education or less. 13% do not have a high school diploma or equivalent. 11% could benefit from our ESL programs, and 5% are unemployed. In Northern Alameda, in addition to focusing on the 7 AEBG program areas, we have incorporated the co-teaching model in a few of our CTE courses. We modeled our co-teaching pilot after Washington State's Integrated Basic Education and Skills Training, or IBEST model. However, in our structure, unlike Washington's where 2 community college faculty are co-teaching, we integrated an ABE ASC adult school instructor into the college CTE course to teach contextualized English and math. The results were telling as the retention and success rates of the courses significantly increased. When adopting this model, it's important to connect the teachers early in the process to ensure that the co-teaching is actually infused and it's not a teaching and tutoring partnership. Additionally, we worked with the college district's enrollment management team to include adult learners in their concurrent enrollment policy. As many of us know, exposing the adult school students to the college campus is a key way to helping them realize their potential as a future college student. Why should our students not have access to the free classes when they are concurrently enrolled in the adult school and the college? They absolutely should have this level of support and access. Our adult school members and college district enrollment management team, along with our transition liaisons and associate deans, met to discuss the process, and after a few months of work, the policy was revised to include adult school high school diploma students in their concurrent enrollment policy. The transitions team created an adult school student version of the K-12 concurrent enrollment form with clear steps for our adult learners to follow. Admissions and records were trained on the changes and given clarity on the process for the adult learners. The third effort I would like to share is our commitment to working with our region's community-based organizations. In our region, there are over 100 CBOs that are serving the communities that we work with and that we want to enroll into our programs. We developed a CBO committee that serves to inform the working group, and I'll share more on that a little later in the presentation. Next, I'll pass it on to Sherry.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm with the State Center Adult Education Consortium, and as you can see from the slide, we are almost smack dab in the middle of the state. Our regions include Fresno County and Madera County. Our consortium consists of 14 adult schools, 3 community colleges, 2 community college centers, 2 regional occupational programs, and 1 adult and corrections program. And our partners, of course, are the Fresno Regional Workforce Development Board and the Workforce Development Board of Madera County. We have urban and rural communities, and with our farthest members being 2 hours from each other. And because of the size of our consortium, we've divided into subregions based on the community college district that the adult schools would feed into. So we basically have 4 subregions within our consortium. As you can see from our demographics, Fresno and Madera counties have a combined population of over 1 million people, and we cover a 8,000 square miles, so definitely a big distance from each other. The communities suffer poverty levels as high as 25%, which is a figure that is almost double the state poverty rate of 14.3. Over 25% of individuals ages 25 and older in Madera and Fresno counties do not have a high school diploma or equivalent. As you can see, 81% of the area's population have not completed a bachelor's degree, and that's compared to the state rate of non-completion of 68.8%. And over 44% speak a language other than English, and the average 6.5 population in our population are undocumented.
Thank you so much, Sherry and Shamila. We've learned about very different consortiums. Let's take a poll now. Winnie, do you want to lead us through this poll? How many members are in your consortium? Keep voting. Looks like we have a variety on today. Very small to quite large. Okay, folks, as you listen to the rest of the webinar, you'll learn how Sherry and Shamila's consortia, although very different, are using some similar strategies. We're going to be talking about how data impacts student success.
This is Sherry, and what we found, since our consortium is so spread out, as I said, over 8,000 square miles, we decided that it was really important to hire a data and accountability specialist. And she travels around to each, especially our smaller adult schools who do not have the support staff, to do the CASAS testing and to enter information into TE. So she is actually doing that for them. And so because of the challenge, the limited staffing that we have, rural adult schools, it made the data collection very challenging. So without a dedicated person, we would not be getting the information that we need to comply with our AEDG requirements. And she's also going to be, her name is Karina, as you see her leaning over the person there in the picture. She's also going to be working with our community colleges too and making sure that their information gets inputted as well and their students are CASAS tested. So it's actually been working very well. The people out there in the field feel relieved because they have someone that they can turn to on a regular basis rather than waiting for CASAS people to get back to them. And we just actually have a hands-on participation, and it's kind of helping to bring our consortium members together because they all are beginning to count on each other for this information.
Thank you. And Shamila, can you talk to us a little bit about how you're using data in program planning?
Yes, absolutely. As I stated earlier, our region has approximately 66,000 adults without a high school diploma or equivalency. Years ago, adult education took a huge hit, as we all know, and the financial impact on the programs in our region were significant. So much so that Oakland and surrounding city residents believe adult education was cut completely. With that said, we contracted a marketing firm to do some research and help our consortium develop a brand identity. From that research, it was discovered that the communities we serve don't realize that we're here and that there are programs available for them. Therefore, we embarked on a marketing and advertising strategy to reach the 66,000 adults who are in need of their diploma or GED and who didn't realize that we were here to help them through. Additionally, the transition liaisons embarked on an effort to better understand our students by hosting multiple focus groups with former adult education students who transitioned into the community college system. The focus groups informed our consortium firsthand on the challenges, needs, successes, and desires of our adult learners when they transition from the adult school into the college. It was extremely beneficial to hear directly from the population of students that we're endeavoring to support. Lastly, I'm sure all of us have utilized labor market research to inform our region's work. The state's occupational projections of growth calculator is very helpful, as well as collaborating with our workforce development boards. We're building out non-credit, and so partnering with workforce development and using the state's occupational growth calendar has helped us determine which areas we want to focus on. We are working to increase our short-term CTE leading to viable jobs programs. However, it's important to focus on areas where there will be available jobs for our students upon their completion. Partnering with groups such as East Bay Health Workforce Partnership, which is an employer-led effort working closely with community and education leaders to meet the current and workforce needs of employers, is a great way to get relevant workforce data to inform our work. And I encourage all of you to check in your region to see what employer-led efforts there are that you can connect with.
Thank you. And Shamila, it's so important you pointed out to assess those that we are not serving as well as the needs of those of the folks that we are serving. Sherry, you're doing some work with Community Pro Suite. You want to talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure. So our consortium and community saw the need to be able to connect our resources. And using Community Pro as a system to track referrals from one adult school to another, and then from the adult schools to college, and then from schools to the workplace, and then vice versa, we saw that it was a real need, especially as we are so spread out. And as we know, our students deal with transportation issues and childcare issues. And so we wanted to be able to make it more of a streamlined process for them. So that's why we involved Community Pro. One example is that someone from the workforce, their manager of their One Stop, actually showed us maybe 3-4 reams of paper saying that these were all the referrals that he did in 1 year, but he has no idea what happened to those people. Did they get a job? Did they go back to training? Where are they? So we're hoping, and the plan is for Community Pro to be able to help us track our clients and our students to make it a better region. And other agencies in this are the Department of Social Services are interested in this. We have the Madera County Library that's definitely on board to help with referrals. And we have our colleges on board. We have both our workforce development boards from Madera County, Fresno County, and our entire consortium are participating in this. So we're launching Community Pro 2.0 real quickly, and they've been actually working very well with our transition specialists, who I'll speak about in a little bit, to actually make this a more robust program for everybody.
That is excellent. It's wonderful that we have tools that can help us do this work. We're going to talk a little bit about strong partnerships, and I know that both Sherry and Shamila have worked so diligently to build strong partners. Let's begin with Shamila. Please share some of your success in growing your partnerships.
Absolutely, Deborah. This collaborative is all about relationship building, building trust and support, communicating with the members and the partners. In the year and the few months that I've been in this role, it was evident that our college members were suffering from initiative fatigue, and they really needed to understand what their role in the consortium was. Connecting with the college departments was imperative for us to be successful as a consortium. Working with the Oakland and Alameda County Workforce Development Boards, as I stated earlier, connected us with the region's workforce needs and the thriving sectors. In addition, establishing relationships with industry partners such as UPS, Kaiser, East Bay Mud, and other powerhouses allowed us to hear directly from organizations as to what their workforce training needs were and give us opportunities to get our students into thriving careers. Additionally, we're working with our community-based organizations. In our region, there are over 100 community-based organizations that have filled the gaps in services due to the cuts of 2008. Those CBOs offer GED test prep, diploma programs, ESL training, job development training, and many of the supports our students need. Our CBO committee serves as an ancillary group that helps inform the decision-making body of our consortium. Presently, we have 20 CBOs, including our county library, probation department, and workforce development board partners participating on a monthly basis to discuss data, recruitment of potential adult learners, and wraparound services. Inviting the CBOs to the conversation has been an invaluable asset to our progress. And lastly, I found that I was attending a lot of events, and some of them didn't directly correlate with AEBG, but it really gave me an opportunity to network and to learn the communities that we serve and to get our mission out there so that people know that we exist and how to contact us. So attending job fairs, industry events, community day celebrations, it really gave us kind of a face in the community so that, again, people know that we're here.
I just want to echo, this is Sherry, about what Shamila said about networking and being there. Sometimes you think, why am I going to this event? This really doesn't serve a purpose for me, but it really does because you are out there meeting people and developing those relationships. And when you are developing the relationships, it's very important. What I've learned is to make sure that I follow through. I return phone calls. I return emails as soon as I can because you develop that trust, and that's what helps the relationships, and that's where the ease of the work comes from what we're all doing together. So one thing I wanted to talk about was the English Language Learner grant that we got. We, along with Madera County Workforce Investment Corporation, our State Center Adult Education Consortium, and the Fresno Workforce Development Board, co-wrote a grant. Madera actually took the lead on this, and it was for the Workforce Navigator Pilot Program from the California Workforce Board and EDD and California Department of Labor and Workforce. So we were one of 3 that were awarded a $500,000 ELL Navigator Pilot grant. Madera has hired their first navigator. Fresno will soon be hiring their navigator, I believe, to start in November. And we have our 3 transition specialists actually working very closely with the ELL navigator, that when they meet with adult school students, they actually refer into those programs so that we can help the student navigate through the system. They may need some immigration services. They may need job training. They may need more education. So that's what our part is in this grant.
That was wonderful.
One thing I wanted. Yes, it's really exciting for us. We're very happy about this. And the next thing I wanted to highlight was the Madera Workforce Assistance Center. This actually opened in January of this year in Madera, and they took over a 30,000 square foot former JCPenney building. And in the center, they have, it's hard to see there on this slide, but they have a listing of all the businesses that are co-located. And if you see in the right-hand photo with a little arrow there, that's showing where Madera Adult School is. So all these other agencies are on one side of the facility, and Madera Adult School is on the other. So it's truly a one-stop for the community. And here's a listing of all the agencies that are there. So we have the Madera Workforce County Investment Corporation, EDD is there, the Department of Rehab, the Department of Social Services, Central Valley Opportunity Center, which is a nonprofit employment training service provider, Madera Adult School, Madera Housing Authority of Madera, City of Madera, excuse me. The State Center Community College District is also located there. Our State Center Consortium Transition Specialist and SARE for Jobs is there as well. And the best thing about this too is being the co-located is the student or the client is not turned away. They're actually helped in one spot. They don't have to go from point A to point B, worry about transporting their children, or even hopping on a bus and getting to another agency to again wait in line. So this is truly, I should say, the shining star of our consortium. It certainly wasn't our idea. The Madera Workforce is actually the one that kind of took the lead on all this, but it's great to be included. Also, one of our, at the adult schools, the Madera Community College Center is actually teaching an ESL class in the Madera Adult School Center there, which is helping the students obviously to be in a college class, and then they're actually being able to transition on to other programs. So it's just a very great partnership. The next thing I wanted to speak about is the partnership that was created through one of our South Valley subregions. As you can see, there's Selma Adult School, Valley ROP, which is Regional Occupational Program, Dinuba Adult School, Kings Canyon Adult School, and Sanger Adult School. Each of those worked, we had some regionally enhanced services funding left over from the regular allocation, and together they all created a partnership because Valley ROP already goes into their high school districts. It was a very easy fit for them to create adult school programs. So now at each of those sites, Valley ROP offers CNA, security guard training, digital photography, construction, EMT certification programs, bus driver, and welding courses. So it's just another way of partnering that's worked very well for the South Valley subregion. And other areas in our consortium are trying to replicate the same thing.
That's marvelous. You know, when we become a model and have other folks trying to replicate what we're doing, we know that we're doing something right. Thank you so much. So student support services are so valuable. Both Sherry and Shamila addressed transition services. They've been very creative as they've gotten student support services for their students. We'll start with Sherry. Please share more about your work, and then Shamila, you can follow.
I'm just going to interrupt for a second because we have a question in the chat. Was there a cost to be part of the American Job Center? Was there a cost to the consortium or the adult school, Sherry?
That's a good question. They have created MOU agreements with each of their partners, and each of them do have a share of costs. And the adult school has a share of costs as well. But it's really bringing it all together is rating all those funding sources, so it's not as costly as if a person was out on their own.
And in our consortia in Northern Alameda, we're part of the Alameda County AJCC, and the cost structure, it didn't have to be monetary. So there could be, a sharing of space, a sharing of supplies, a sharing of, so there was a cost-sharing model that they developed, but it didn't necessarily have to be monetary.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, Sherry, you want to talk about the transitional team?
Sure. We have 4 transition specialists, and as I spoke earlier, we broke into subregions because we are such a large consortium. So we have Oscar that's in our central or urban subregion, as we like to call it, and he visits all the adult schools and the Adults in Corrections program and the Fresno Workforce that all feed into Fresno City College. And we have Peng Bing Yi. She is actually our transitions counselor. She comes to us with years of experience from Fresno Adult Schools. She was also in the K-12 system for years. So she's really helping to coordinate all the efforts on the outside looking in. She also covers the Clovis region and the adult schools that feed into the Clovis Community College. We have Michelle that works in the North Region, which is the Madera Workforce Assistance Center, and all the other schools, smaller adult schools that feed into the Madera Community College Center. And then we have Mary Lopez, who's a transition specialist in our South Valley schools. And actually, it was the South Valley schools that came up with the idea for the transition specialist out of Regional Enhanced Services funding that we had last year, 15-16, that all of them joined together because they had nobody serving their students. So Mary was actually the first person that was on board with us in that region. The transition specialist.
Sherry, can you?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I had a question about the team. Can you talk a little bit about the structure of the team? Do those 4 people meet with each other to share their best practices and design consistent practices across the board?
Exactly that. Good question. Actually, Peng has been leading that effort, and the 4 of them have worked closely together to develop how they're tracking the students. In fact, they will be using the Community Pro 2.0 to track all the students, and they came up with the intake forms, flyers, and documents, and best practices, and they meet actually on a weekly basis to confer, what's working, what's not working, how can we do things better. So yes, most definitely, they're always in constant communication with each other. The setup, and it's a new structure, and each of them have interesting backgrounds. Oscar comes from Special Olympics. He was a program manager there for years, so he's got that background. Michelle was a counselor for years in another location. She also has adults with disabilities background. So we have a really wonderful team to pull together different resources. So we're very blessed.
That's great.
And the slide shows the things that they're offering. So they do academic and career advising. As you can see the list, educational career training. They help with financial aid applications. They help with the college admissions application. So they're there just to be the liaison and that support for the student, and also giving the warm handoff to the other partners and other agencies that they need help with.
I continue to hear about warm handoffs and just how important the warm handoff is for our students. Jamila, you want to share about your support services?
Yes, thank you. Similar to Sherry, we also have 4 transition liaisons in our consortia, and they are each one at each of our colleges. We also have a transition support specialist or transition liaison housed with Oakland Adult, and she's a teacher from Oakland Adult who's stepping into this role. And so they've been meeting biweekly to share, different practices and the things that are coming up throughout their visits, throughout their meetings, different partnerships that they're developing, folks that they're working with. And right now, our working group is reviewing the transition liaison position to make sure that we're utilizing them in the best way possible, in the most effective way possible. Our region is Oakland is the largest, and then Berkeley, Alameda, and Piedmont. And so we have one transition liaison pretty much for each area, but some of those areas are a lot smaller than Oakland, clearly. So we're looking at how we can share the resources and share the human capacity of the 4 to spread the work out a little bit more amongst the region. But in addition to our amazing support services from the transition liaisons, we also set aside 5% of our consortium funds to work with our CBO partners. Last year, we developed an RFP to elicit proposals that would help us address 5 barriers that students face to completing their education. Those barriers are housing, transportation, childcare, employment, and mental health. We selected 2 CBOs from the first round of receiving the proposals, and those 2 CBOs are focusing on mental health and wellness, as well as job development services. The partnerships created an opportunity for us to directly provide service in those 2 areas without having to pass the students along to organizations that we had minimal to no relationship with. So we're developing a tracking and reporting mechanism to measure the effectiveness of these partnerships, the on-site services that they're providing, and the referral process that we've developed. Both of the partners have scheduled time each month to visit all of our member sites to provide the mental health and job development services. Additionally, the referral process that we develop, we've shared with the teachers and the students so that if something arises and they need assistance outside of the on-site visits, they know where to go and who to go to outside of the scheduled visits that we have with them.
That's marvelous. Shamila, I was just at a reentry resource fair and ran into your transition specialists there. So they are out and about in the community, which is so important.
Absolutely.
I wanted to. Go ahead. Go ahead, Shamila.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, there's a question here about the workload of the transition specialists. Like how many visits do they do in a day, or how many students do they actually see? How do you define their workload?
That's something that, again, we're looking at right now. Our Berkeley transition specialist, he actually has office hours at Berkeley Adult, and so he will go and he has day office hours as well as evening office hours a few times a week so that he's touching or available to touch all of the students there. He's scheduling workshops on the Berkeley Adult site as well as in the community and the community-based organizations. So it really varies depending on their area. So Oakland is pretty large. We have one transition liaison at Merritt College and one here at Laney College, and they share the area. But again, we have so many community-based organizations in our region. It's difficult to make sure that they're getting out to each one. So we're looking at how we can better spread out the work of the four, because Alameda is very small, and so having one transition liaison strictly focus on Alameda may not be the most effective way to use her, and so we may have her come into Oakland and help the other two. So we're looking at how we're going to structure that a little better.
And I can speak to this as well. This is Sherry. Our transition specialists, as I said, they each go to the different subregions. So we also have each of them 1 day a week or half day a week, depending on the schedule, at our American Job Centers. So they're there, again, to see the clients. Pang, who helps work with them, she provided a report for our board last week. And from September 1st through October 13th, all the transition specialists saw 273 students. So they're actually out there doing the job, and being out there in the community also helps. We're very excited to have them. We've heard very amazing feedback from teachers who feel like the students actually shared with them that they have hope. There's somebody to help them and direct them now. So we're happy we're doing that for them.
And so I'll move on to the support services challenges that we faced as a consortium. Really, our challenges center around the duplication of supports and funding. The colleges have, varied on-site supports at their different locations for their college students, but the adult school members don't have that level of support for students. So one thing that we learned was it was important to connect the CBOs that we're partnering with the college departments and programs that offer the same or similar support, so that those partnerships are strong and that the colleges don't feel like we're stepping on their toes. They kind of know what's going on and what the outside resources are. And again, 5% of consortium funding is not a substantial amount to really support this work. Therefore, leveraging funds and establishing relationships is key to the success. I think that all of our consortia need to advocate for funding directly tied to administering support services, similar to how we receive the data and accountability funding. I think that we need to advocate for support services funding so that we can develop a fully comprehensive system.
Deborah, you might be on mute.
Thank you, Miriam. I was on mute. I just said to Sherry and Shamila in my muteness, thank you so much. I am so impressed with your work. You use data to drive programming. You have a richness of partners and a myriad of student support services. Are there final thoughts that you want to share with our webinar viewers today? Shamila, let's start with you.
I think the takeaways that I would like to leave the group with really just thinking about, statistically we know that our children, they'll have a stronger opportunity to succeed when they're in a household that's thriving. I understand that children are our future. However, we can't forget about our present, which are the families and the parents that will shape the children. In doing so, we must advocate for adult learners to receive some of the same benefits as our K-12 students. The concurrent enrollment policy example that I provided earlier is a great way to introduce college to adults who otherwise don't see themselves as college students. It offers them free courses and an opportunity to succeed in college coursework before they fully are enthralled in the life of a college student. I would also say to advocate for adult education outcomes to impact college assessment. The adults who go back to school to attain their diploma or GED, they should be applauded for their efforts, and the efforts shouldn't go unnoticed. So incorporating their adult school performance into the college assessment process could potentially eliminate one barrier to their enrollment. And so I think that's huge if we can all rally to do that. Work with your colleges to advocate for a dedicated counselor to support your adult school students. And then organize outreach events that are geared specifically to the adult population, hosting events that encourage adults to go back to school. To me, that demonstrates that they belong. We welcome them at our institutions. And so hopefully that will reduce the stigma that they don't belong here, or that it's past their time. And then lastly, just invite yourself to the table. I know we all learned that it may be rude to invite yourself somewhere, but in this case, I say it's not rude. Just go ahead and do it. Folks won't know who we are if we aren't in the conversations and if we're not dialoguing about the issues and providing solutions based on our work. So invite yourself to the table and get yourself out there.
That's great. Shamila, you have a question from Thomas Allen regarding concurrent enrollment between adult school and community college. Are the adult school students only enrolling in non-credit classes at the community college?
No, Tom. During this pilot, we listed it as a pilot. No, they enrolled in credit classes. In our college district, there's not an abundance of non-credit courses, and so we were enrolling them in credit courses at the colleges.
Great. And Thomas,
how can credit classes be free? So with a concurrent enrollment policy, if the student is taking in a fall or spring semester, it has to be 11 units or less for the class to be free. Once they hit the full-time status of 12 units or more, then they would have to pay the $46 per unit.
Thomas, these are real local policy decisions that have been made here. Okay. Sherry, you've got some exciting news to share.
I do. I also wanted to echo what Shamila said again about just getting yourself invited to the table. I am really good about inviting myself places, and it's developing the relationships that get the work done. You identify the champions in each of those agencies in order to partner with them. In fact, a funny thing about the ELL Navigator grant application, when that was released, I was able to call a person from the Workforce Development Board, and I'm like, is this a good time? And she's like, I'm in the drive-thru with my kids at McDonald's. But it was fine because we already have developed that relationship and developed that trust that we can work together, and that's where the exciting work gets done. What's happening on the slide is along with the strong workforce, the chairperson here is actually located in our office, or my office, really close by. So we have collaborated many times wondering how in the world are we going to work together? How is this going to benefit each other? And we're doing the best we can to try, but we also realize that neither side of the table really know what the other person can do or what they can offer. So we determined that we would have this Regional Education and Workforce Resources Summit. It's a very short morning. We're going to have panel discussions that will include the adult ed world. Our transition specialists are going to speak. Somebody's going to speak about what adult education is, because many people on the college side do not know what adult ed schools do, and vice versa. So, and then we're having people from the workforce there. So trying to partner and braid everything together so that people can see the work that we're doing and the work that we can do together. So very excited about that event.
That's very exciting. You know, I can see in both of your roles, your choreographers, your conductors, your collaborators and conveners who help to make you so successful. So we're going to wrap up right now, and then we'll have some time for some questions. Shamila and Sherry, thank you so much for sharing your good work. We can see that your success and the success of your students is due to the thoughtful work of your consortia in linking, aligning, and leveraging resources. And you talked about that with data, partnerships, and student support services. You've used data to impact programming. You've leveraged partners found in unexpected places to build your program. And you've linked support services to remove barriers that could hinder a student's success. Thank you, both of you, for your commitment and your expertise and for your time sharing today. Really appreciate it. I continue to learn from each of you. Thank you. So folks on the webinar, this is our time to chat, and I would like you to answer this question. What's the takeaway from today's presentation that will help you impact student success? I can see some typing going on. Get the takeaways up there and then give you an opportunity to ask some questions. Deanna has said that the use of transition specialists and relationship building has been a takeaway. And just being on the ground, Deanna, and seeing transition specialists working their magic is pretty incredible. They have such great impact, not just with our students, but with faculty at the colleges, with instructors from the adult schools, and within the community with industry and employers. That's a great takeaway, the use of transition specialists. Anybody else? What's the takeaway from today's presentation that will help you impact student success?
Deborah, people are with chat pods.
Yeah, I'm just looking at our chat pod, forming focus groups with former students. You know, that peer-to-peer and cohort, those cohort groups are so powerful. Guadalupe, thank you for that. And Thomas, you're writing services for adult students that parallel the community college K-12 partnering, for example, the concurrent enrollment. Anything that we can do to make that bridge easier, to bridge that transition is so important for our students. Francisco, exploring the option of the one-stop center to enhance community partnerships. And I was just a couple days ago at the Berkeley Adult School, and they have a one-stop center right on their campus. And there were folks from the college, folks from the community, and folks from the adult school using the one-stop center, as well as industry and employer partnerships.
This is Sherry, and I have one thing I wanted to add that Thomas' question made me think about that. What we have begun to do as far as kind of doing the concurrent enrollment, it's something called, I'm calling it the reverse credit recovery. And actually there was an adult school and community college in the LA area that did this, and so we're kind of piggybacking on what they're doing, but of course on a larger scale, is what will happen. There's many students that can enroll into the community college without a high school completion. So we have been able to get a list from our colleges of all the students that are enrolled without the high school completion, and our transition specialists are going to be reaching out to them and talking to them and working with them to transfer them back to an adult school, not transfer them back physically, but to look at the transcripts that they have completed on the college side, use those credits to transfer them back to the adult school side so that they can hopefully obtain a high school diploma from that adult school. So we're calling it reverse credit recovery because the student's hopefully able to get that high school diploma. With that high school diploma, they can then get financial aid and a job. So we're very excited about that possibility.
That's great. Thomas thanks you for that tip about reverse credit recovery. Andrew talks about the value of connecting with our community partners. And the two of you, Sherry and Shamila, both have done just marvelous jobs working with community-based organizations and other kinds of other partners. Thomas, you had a question. Partnering with CDOs as a way of getting services for adult students. Could we do this to get learning disability screening for adult students?
This is Shamila. For the Kasu Ubuntu Bonita House, which is the mental health and wellness services provider, they actually do screen. They have a case manager as well as a licensed clinician, and so they, the assessments that they do could potentially bring out learning disabilities that a student may have. And so I think you just have to do your homework in partnering with the right partners to get what you need out of that relationship.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a couple of tries with partners. Marcella, linkages with credit programs, relationship building in and out of the classroom, and utilizing student feedback to help further these relationships. So important to have our student voices, have our students at the table.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I want to thank the three of you. Deborah, you have done an amazing job as the facilitator and helping to have this conversation be a conversation that really allow the two programs that we highlighted are the two consortia, the North Alameda Adult Education Collective and the State Center Adult Education Consortium, to really highlight some of their focus around data partnership and support services, but really ultimately, as the presentation is titled, to really focus on how we can have student success. And you've done an amazing job facilitating that and guiding us through this conversation. So thank you very much for that. You have seen both worlds given your background, and so you were the exact perfect person to help us with this conversation today. Shamila and Sherry, thank you so much as well for highlighting your programs today and sharing the areas of success and also sharing some of the challenges, because that's sometimes important for programs to know that they might come against some challenges, but if they persevere, they will see opportunities that will help them ultimately begin to be able to continue to impact student success. So thank you for all of the wonderful examples. I know that the participants in the webinar today received a lot of information, and I want to make sure that they see in the bottom chat pod on the left that you can download the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation that was shared today, or upload the presentation that was shared today. Also, as you see in the center of the screen, the contact information is there for you for each of our three presenters today. I know that they shared a lot in a little bit of time, and you might have other questions that come up following this webinar that you would want to ask them, and so they've made themselves available and provided their email contact information there for you. And I really want to thank Marian Thatcher, who
got us started with the webinar today. She did an amazing job getting this webinar going, and she will be leading the next webinar that we do as a part of our AEBG TAP PD Wednesday webinars with you. It will be on December the 6th, and the focus of that webinar will be on integrated education and training, an IET webinar, which is a real hot topic, and we are looking forward to that wonderful webinar that will be coming soon your way. We ask that you will visit the AEBG website to see all of the amazing PD events that are coming up and register for them, sign up for them. They're here for you. They're designed for you to meet the needs of the field, and we want to make sure that we are responsive to what you're looking for and what you need. And so as we sign off of the webinar today, there'll be an evaluation tool and link that pops right up on this screen when the webinar has ended. So please give us some feedback and let us know what else you want us to think about bringing to you through the webinar format. Thank you all again, and have a great, great Wednesday. We'll be on for a few more minutes if there are others who have questions. I see that some folks are typing in the chat pod. So we'll keep the room open for a few more minutes to allow you to have any closing thoughts. But thanks everyone very much. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.